headphones, so
It's okay. But can you hear me well, right?
yes, a little bit louder, maybe that would be
A little bit louder.
better.
Okay. And I think, technology is that we are already live, but let me double check that
Yes, we
on
are
the
live.
phone because I can see that always a little bit later. Hi, we are there, we are there. So please, technology, be with us today. Hello, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. This is a very, very special day today because it's 22nd of February 2022. And I have a special guest as well, and we are going to talk about a really, really important topic. And I would love to welcome Dr. Shauli Mukherjee to our Truth Runners today. Welcome, Dr. Shauli, and thank you so, so much for accepting my invitation.
Thank you so much, Christina. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here on this platform today in order to share my insights with all your live audience, related to a theme which is in fact so very close to my heart. So thank you for the invite.
I thank you. Guys, because Dr. Shauli, she is the first time on our group, allow me to introduce her in a couple of words. If you have any questions during the live, you can put them in the comments below. Or if you are going to watch that in the replay, then see in the comments, and we are going to try to answer the fastest and the best possible. So allow me to introduce you Dr. Shauli. She dedicated her life towards promotion of child-centric and activity-oriented education. I love that. A passionate educationist and a global thought leader with a background of setting up and leading new age K-12 schools. Dr. Shauli had been the founder principal of Adams World School and STEM World School, the first STEM school in West Bengal. All through her career in education, Dr. Mukherjee had actively contributed to the process of creating a personalized, engaging, and stress-free curriculum for children of all age groups. She is associated with premier educational organizations across India, as well as globally in their senior advisory capacity. She is also recognized among 99 Women Achievers of India for the year 2021. Congratulations! As an internationally acclaimed inspirational speaker, she is regularly invited to numerous international and national conferences, universities, summits, and events to share her insight on the futuristic and transformative role of education. She is currently working as Director of School of Education at Adams University in Kolkata. Wow, that's all about education. And I would love, before we proceed and before we go on in this live, to congratulate for everything what you are doing, for your career, for your dedication, and for choosing actually education, because as you said, it's really, really important, and it's the question of the hour. I'm quoting you, actually.
Thank you so much, Christina. I'm truly honored as well as humbled because the thing that I do is purely out of passion. And not only that, I believe that it is my single most mission in my life, to touch, to inspire, and to impact the lives of our future generation in meaningful and significant manner.
Wow, that's beautiful. And that's beautiful because you have a vision, you have passion, and you go for it. And you are doing something for the new generation, basically. So I want to kickstart this conversation with we said that the education system needs a revolution, which really indeed needs one. But my question to you would be, why is that? What's wrong
Yes,
with the
this
old
is
one?
so this is a very, very pertinent question. And in fact, I keep on saying this, that we need to have more discussions like this because this is the need of the hour. So if the progressive and the empowered educators, they do not engage in such meaningful conversations, I mean, it's of no use. So, well, to answer your question, why do I feel that current education system truly needs a revolution? Well, Christina, to tell you very frankly, our histories have changed and our geographies have changed. But sadly enough, and unfortunately, our education system has not changed. Our education system is still the same. And when I say it's still the same, it is still essentially the byproduct of the 19th century industrial revolution, but still continues to promote a one size fits all educational structure, but still views its young learners and children merely as finished products of this redundant and overtly conservative and traditional educational system. Now, it is a kind of a system which sadly, even denies the basic fact that each and every child is born with a unique blueprint, with an ability to create a unique world of difference around him or her. So each and every child has, his or her unique passion, unique talents, unique abilities, and unique mindset. So
Thank you.
a kind of a system which treats everyone the same is not a kind of a system which is going to work for our generation Z, because we have to understand that our conservative and our conventional educational norms, they actually force our young learners to metaphorically draw and color within the lines. That is to conform and to comply and never ever to create or to innovate. So if this is the scenario, then you can jolly well imagine that why our children who are so, who are so bubbly, who are so cheerful, filled with energy, curiosity, and creativity, they actually struggle to realize their true potential under such a decadent and a traditional and an orthodox educational norm. So I know that I'm making a very, very revolutionary statement here by stating that the system needs a revolution, because I believe that nothing short of a revolution is going to work for our current education system, because it is not about, bringing in a sudden, slight tweak in the system. So we are not thinking about repairing a broken model of the education system.
Yeah.
So we're not thinking about repairing it or mending it. We're thinking about a completely new kind of an education system, a paradigm shift from a too structured, too organized, too overtly, formalized education system to a kind of a system which is actually more open, more fruitful, more productive, more flexible, and more meaningful and stress-free, for our young learners. So that is the need of the hour, and hence I vehemently state and reiterate the fact that nothing short of a revolution is going to work, at least for 21st century learners.
Thank you so, so, so much, Dr. Shauli. I love your passion. I love the way how you think and you talk about all these things. And yes, I completely agree with you that each and every one of us, every child is unique. It has its own abilities. And let's be honest, as you said, the current education system, there is a curriculum and everybody, they are trained in a classroom, all 20, they have to learn the same thing. They are interested in it, they are not, they are bored, they are not. They need to learn the same things, right? Which kills the vibe, kills the energy, kills their curiosity, This is what I say, that this is how they learn to be conditioned. This is conditioning, okay? And
Absolutely.
it really, really starts at a very young age. And the more, the teachers, of course, they are looking up to the teachers, they are looking up to educators, even they are open-minded and, as you said, bubbly and energetic and creative. We can either give them wings to fly, either cut their wings and, put them, just stay on the line, because you're a number, you have to stay on the line. And that's why I love your idea about really revolutionizing actually the educational system. Do you have anything in mind what we could do as parents, as educationists, as teachers, what we can do?
We can do a lot of things.
Mhm.
In fact, Christina, when it comes to the educators or the teachers, let me just state that, there have been so many transformations. There have been so many changes in the last 2 or 3 decades.
Mhm.
But perhaps there has been one such profession, but still continues to attract a lot of love, a lot of prestige, and a lot of power. And I'm talking about the teaching profession, which is still considered to be one of the noblest professions in the world. And you know why? Because it is still in the hands of the teachers that the
Absolutely.
future of the entire nation, rather the future of the entire world, lies. So it's high time that we, as empowered and passionate academicians and educators, we should actually realize the tremendous power, the tremendous responsibility that we have,
Mm.
because each and everything that we tend to do or we tend to say
Say,
to the child has a lifelong impact
absolutely.
on the child's life, and on the kind of evolution that the child will have. Problem is, we often do not realize that. We often do not realize how very powerful we are, our words, our actions, and our everything. So that is like for the educators. For the parents, yes, of course, because each and every parent is the first educator or the first teacher of the child. So, the problem is, even as educators or the teachers, or rather the system in general, the system tends to highlight or pinpoint what the child can't do rather than what the child can do.
Exactly.
This is the problem. The moment you make a shift and you start focusing your energy, on what the child is able to do rather than what the child is not able to do. So we are like always, extremely busy in finding out the mistakes, in finding out the faults, in finding out where the child is falling short. But we have to understand, when we are actually evaluating the child on the basis of where the child is falling short, the standard has actually been set by us. And a child, or rather children in general, with multiple capabilities, multiple intelligence, multiple capabilities, they are not supposed to conform to only one standard of excellence. Because even for intelligence, there can be so many different kinds of intelligence. Even for passion, talents, capabilities, there can be so many variety of those things. So you cannot earmark, or you cannot measure a child's intelligence only on the basis of maybe scores, grades, or report cards. So if we have been doing this, since long, we still do it, but it's high time that we should realize that we are doing a disservice to our children by, subjecting them to such a kind of an inhuman testing system, standardized tests, right? So
Mhm.
standardized tests are actually in vogue across all sectors of education, but we have to understand what these standardized tests are testing. They are again testing the child's or the learner's ability to conform and to comply and to obey. They're not testing, or they're not measuring the child's ability to create, the child's ability to innovate. They're not doing that.
Thank you. I must say, I love you. I really love you. And, this is all about, that's why I created the Truth Runners, people like you and like my all other guests to tell the truth and to dare actually to tell the truth. Look, this is something wrong. This needs to be changed. It's not working anymore. So I'm truly grateful for you daring actually to speak your truth and say it out loud. Guys, it needs to be changed because I completely agree with you. The current testing system does not really take their ability. It takes how they've been conditioned, how they can obey, and how good they are, to fit not in that bubble. Yeah, not in the box, actually. They fit in the box. All right, let's see. We have for watching. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the heart. Hi, Ivy. Ivy said, yes, definitely needs a revamp the educational system. Definitely, every child has a genius within if he's seen in a bespoke manner. Absolutely. Hi, Paramal. Thank you so much for watching. We all should try to bring revolution in our educational system. Our aim should find out the child's potentials, as said by Madam Shauli. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because we adults are good, not in everything, right? We have our specialties, we have our expertise in one field. The children, the same. One might be good in math, one might be good in creative arts, one might be good in sports. Why they need to be good in everything? This is what the education system tries it at the moment, to try to make them good in everything. And that's too much. I mean, as you said, they lose their passion. They use their energy. They are not that bubbly anymore. They are, let's face it, stressed. Why a child should be stressed? Come on, he's a child. He needs to play. He can learn a lot of things by playing, right? He can learn a lot of things not sitting hours and hours on the school bench, but maybe he can learn much more things going out, in a park or somewhere. You said that you are all about and you promote, I know, the child-centric education system. Do you have any plans? 'Cause I know what we are talking about right now. It can be implemented, right, let's say, in one classroom because there is a teacher listening to us, and there are actually a lot of teachers thinking like what we are talking about. That yes, it needs to be changed and pay attention to the personal abilities, the unique qualities of children. But that's in one classroom, maybe in two, maybe in 10. But we are talking about the whole education system. And I've been asking you what we can do. Yes, we as parents or we as teachers, we can do that in our own classroom, in our tiny small community. And that matters a lot. But that's not enough because that's a handful of children, right? How can we that extend? Do you have anything in your mind? Do you have any, how can we extend this on a higher level? I mean, not just for one classroom, not just for one tiny school, but maybe for the whole education system of a country or globally, because let's face it, generation exists. Children are everywhere. Education system is outdated. I'm telling you, everywhere.
Exactly. So it is not, I usually say this in a lot of global platforms. It is not something that India is facing right now. It's a global issue. It is a
Absolutely.
global problem. And it needs to be addressed in significant urgency. That's what I believe. And well, it's a very, very interesting question which you have asked me. But just to tell you, my perspective is a little bit different because I believe that even if a teacher is able to create a magic, even
Mhm.
if a teacher is able to create a whole lot of difference in a classroom which maybe consists of 5 or 6 children, you know, even then I would give all the credit and all kudos to the teacher because I sincerely believe that each and every act which is done with proper intention and proper clarity has a ripple effect. So it
True.
doesn't matter. You should not be thinking that, I have great intentions, I have great missions in my life, and I'm just waiting for the correct platform to be there and to just launch all of this. So maybe that particular time will never come in your life. So you do small things, you start with small things, you start with your small circle. you know the moment you start doing things well, the moment you start doing things with a very, very clear intention, and your why is very clear to you as to why you are doing what you are doing, that is absolutely clear. Your purpose is clear. So that it doesn't matter whether you're touching the life of a single child. Even if you're doing that, you're doing something great, I would say, because each and every action has a ripple effect, whether it's negative or whether it's positive. While, and also to specifically come to your question regarding the child-centric education system, well, it is child-centric as well as learner-centric because,
Mhm.
say, for instance, if I speak about the higher education domain, so they're not children, right? So they're adults. So they are the learners. So it's learner-centric, education system. Problem is there are two dimensions to it. One is that we have always believed in a teacher-centric education system, where the teacher is at the center. So, the teacher is the one who is doing everything right from A to Z. So the teacher decides the curriculum, the teacher decides the methodology, the teacher decides the pedagogy, the teacher decides the evaluation and the assessment, the teacher decides how to judge and how to label each and every child. So everything is about the teacher. Even the teacher decides the style of learning and even the learning needs of the child. Unfortunately, that is the problem. So we have to move away from a teacher-centric education system to a child or a learner-centric education system, but the child or the learner is at the center. So the moment you make this shift in your head first, right, then you start thinking everything from the perspective of the child. So what am I doing? What am I going to do as a teacher which will appeal to the child, depending on how much I know him or her? How much I have been able to create a bond with the child, how much I'm aware of the likes and dislikes and the knack and the passion and the talents and the interest of the child. So the more I do that, the more I spend time with the child, quality time with the child, I'll get to know the child, right? And then only I'll be able to plan the curriculum, plan the pedagogy, plan the teaching style, evaluation, assessment, everything, depending on the need of the child. So that is the shift from teacher-centric to child-centric or learner-centric education. So this it is not limited to kindergarten. It is not limited to primary schools. It is comprehensible, and it is, it encompasses the entire gamut of our education system. So maybe starting from toddlers to, even to us, because I believe the second dimension is, I believe even the teachers are learners.
Absolutely.
If you cannot be a learner, and rather if you cannot be a lifelong learner, there are two things here. One, you have to be a lifelong learner. Next, you have to continuously learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Unlearn.
So these are the two things which are very, very important for a teacher and an educator. It is equally true for a parent as well.
Absolutely.
Equally true for a parent as well. So just because I'm a parent, I cannot assume that I know everything that is going to be good for my child. No, I may not. I may be extremely biased. I may be thinking completely from my own perspective and lens. Maybe I am just neglecting or ignoring what my child really wants. So as a parent also, we have to be extremely focused on what my child wants. And accordingly, we have to, craft something for him or her. That is exactly what we need to do.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I love this, because as you said, the teacher is a learner also, absolutely. And because a child is a child, right? He can be formed and molded. The one who form and mold them are actually the teachers. So the first foremost thing is to shift the mindset of the teachers, right? And I love the word when you said unlearn, because this word I use a lot, because there are so many things what we adults, teachers, parents, first of all, we have to unlearn, because we have been, taught and grown up in a certain system. That's what we know. That's what we think is the best for our kids as well, for our children. But this may not be the truth. So that's why, first of all, parents, teachers, we have to unlearn the old habits, unlearn the old education system. Because, for example, in my case, I grew up in Eastern Europe, in a communist country, right? And we've been graded. I had 1 to 10. 10 was the best. 4, it was you couldn't pass the class. And I had to be good. And my generation, we had to kind of be good in everything, in every subject, in order to pass the class. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. I enjoy it. I don't have a clue about what I'm talking about, but I still have to pass because I needed the grade. Other than that, I couldn't. So I stayed there hours and hours, evenings, and as a kid, I was like, "Ugh." But I had to. And this is something what I do not wish for my child. I have a daughter, she's 10, and I'm telling you, having kid is a blessing because they are the ones who actually teach us. We think we think that we are the teachers and we are the guides and we know everything. But I'm telling you, it's exactly on the other way around because I in my case, I've learned that I learned from my own kid because she teaches me patience. She teaches me how to. She knows I don't like this. I don't want to do it. I want to do something else. She dares to speak her truth. She dares to say, "Mommy, I don't like this one. I would love to do something else." Whereas in my case, when I was her age, if they said you have to do that, then I had to do that no matter. It can be anything. I didn't dare to speak my truth, right? But but they already dare to speak the truth. So they are able to say to a teacher, to say to a parent, "Look, I'm interested more in this. I'm interested more in technology. I'm interested more in creativity. I'm interested more in that." Yes, a general knowledge, a little bit of culture. It's okay if they have, but that doesn't mean that they need to know everything. So I really, really love about what you were saying about unlearning and shifting the mindset of the teachers and parents, first of all.
I would
Oh,
just like to add, Christina, that such a wonderful, perspective you have shared right now regarding, parenting. So why, I'm bringing it here because education cannot ignore parenting because the parents are
absolutely.
the first educators. So what you have
Absolutely.
been talking about right now is very much in line with conscious parenting. So this is what conscious parenting is all about, which is revolutionary again,
Mm,
because it states that a conscious parenting is something where the child teaches you a lot of things, and you don't start from a domain of that I know it all and it's my
exactly.
responsibility to fix the child. So it is
Oh,
not our responsibility to fix the child. And why should we fix the child? The
absolutely.
child is perfect.
Perfect.
Each and
Thank
every
you.
child is a born superstar. Each and every child is a born moonshot thinker. Okay. Problem is, we always think that we need to fix the child according to our idea of what best is all about.
It's true.
Problem lies with us.
Mm,
We need to fix our thoughts. The
true.
children, they need not be fixed. They're
True.
perfectly fine.
True. Oh my God. Thank you so much because finally someone says, yes, they are perfectly fine as they are. They know their needs. So, just because you are an adult, it doesn't mean that you know everything and then you have to put them in the box in which you were put it in, right? That's why I said we have to basically unlearn unlearn old habits or conditionings and actually pay attention to the child, because if we pay attention to what they are saying and what they are doing, then actually we realize, yes, this is what's an interest to him or her, or this not really, but this means he's spending time with your child, and it's an effort. Yes, it's an effort from the side of a parent, of a teacher, because it means that you as a parent, as a teacher, you have to move out from your comfort zone as well, because you are so
Yes.
comfortable doing what your grandmother, your grandfather did. You're so comfortable because that's what you know, that's what you see. Your parents did that, so I'm gonna do that as well. But when you say no, I'm not gonna do that, I'm gonna do it different. Okay, that's where the tough work actually starts. And not just the teacher have to shift their mind, but the parent have to shift the mindset as well. All right, we've got here Anna says, "I hope this revolution goes global." And she's my sister. Yes, she said, "My sister, yes, I know, knows how I hated the system I was forced to get educated. Teachers must learn and know what power they have. Their words, actions are having long-term consequences in the life of the children." Yes, this is exactly what you said a little bit earlier, Dr. Shauli. And yes, she's my sister, and I know that only one sentence of a teacher, maybe with good intention, but maybe, okay, it can change the children, it can change the child. And you grow up and you're going to be an adult, and you have certain fears, you have certain concerns, you are not believing in yourself because of one sentence told when you were 6 or 7 by someone who doesn't really know you or didn't really take the time to get to know you. And then you are a creative person. Someone told you, oh, you're saying awful. I'm just saying an example. Don't think, do something else. And even when you have the most beautiful voice in the world, as an adult, you will never ever dare to think, because in your mind, that my teacher said, my voice is horrible. It's just a tiny, tiny, simple example, but this is what's happening. Kids, especially by up to the year of 7, they are like sponges. We don't know that. We don't think about. I mean, yes, of course, I know that because I learned them, but I didn't know in the beginning. I had to learn. I read so many parenting books, and my parents said, "Why do you learn books about parenting? I tell you what to do." No, don't tell me. I'm gonna find out for myself. Okay, Ivy.
It's your journey. It's your
Exactly.
journey of self-exploration, because parenting is a wonderful journey. I mean, I still, feel that, in order to get any kind of degree or certificate, or in order to pass any kind of exam, we need to go through an ordeal. But in order to become a parent, I mean, you don't need to do anything, right? You're married and you become a parent of, naturally. I mean, that's not right, maybe because you need to have proper qualifications, if I may say, in
Yes.
order to become a parent. And why do I say so? Because as a parent, you never really know what you are doing each and every moment to your child. What are those kind of negative remarks you are actually telling them, which are actually having a long term consequence? You never really know where your influence begins and where your influence ends.
True.
So parents, educators, both, we have to be extremely, extremely mindful about what we are doing. And as you have rightly said, till the age of 7, yes, that is the age. 0 to 7 years, as educators we know that it's so vital, these ages, 0 to 7 years, because it is said that a child's brain is in the
Mhm.
theta stage
Yeah.
during this 0 to 7 years. It is that kind of a state where, as adults, we try to reach that particular stage through meditation, conscious meditation. Children are automatically in that particular stage, you know so that's a good news. But the bad news is, as parents, we don't know what we are saying to our children during that particular crucial age. So if we have even jokingly also said something, maybe lovingly with good intention, in a well meaning manner, if we have said something damaging to the child will never forget that for his or her entire lifetime, because it is that time when the subconscious downloading happens in the child's mind, and the child is not able to get rid of that.
True. Absolutely true. I love what you are saying. And there we are, adults, going to hypnotherapy, alignment therapy, this kind of therapy, that kind of therapy, trying to find out what's happening and what was the trigger between the age of 0 to 7, what makes us the adults, who we are today. Okay, Ivy is asking which one of the age group that will be easier to implement this strategy. I think this is goes to a little bit earlier, but I think, Dr. Shauli,
The
that you were,
strategy, that is child-centric education.
yes, I suppose, yes.
Yes, child-centric education should definitely begin right at the very beginning, right at the very beginning, when a child's education, in the true sense of the term, begins. So, again, I have a very different perspective on this, because I believe that a child's education does not start when the child starts going to school, you know, The child's education starts right from the moment when the mother maybe unconsciously starts discriminating between a boy child and a girl child by using color codes such as pink and blue. So the education also starts when the parents decide that if I have a daughter, maybe I will be gifting her a baby doll to play with. And if I have a boy child, then I will be giving him a toy gun or a toy car to play with. So education starts from there. This gender stereotypes, this education, this is also education, right? Education also starts from the moment when, as a grandparent or as a parent, we decide to, read out a lot of conventional fairy tales to our children, where we see that almost all the female protagonists of the fairy tales happens to be slim, fair, and white.
Exactly.
And at the same time, they are, so-called good, but at the same time helpless. They're waiting for a handsome prince
To
to
rescue
come to them
them.
and rescue them.
Exactly. I know.
Again, on the contrary, if you see that all the villainous characters, so-called villainous characters, they are the ones who have a lot of intelligence and a lot of ambition, in the fairy tales. So we have to be very mindful as parents, especially as mothers and grandparents. What is the signal that we are trying to give to our boy and our girls?
Okay. Yeah.
Are we trying to tell them that, well, if you have to be deemed beautiful, you have to be fair and slim? Are we trying to tell them that if you have a lot of ambition, if you have a lot of intelligence, well, society may construe you as one of the villainous characters? So is this the message that we are going to give to our future generation? So this is also education. So education is not what you're reading from a textbook. This is real education, what you're imbibing from your family, what you're imbibing from your surroundings. So we have to be extremely mindful of what are the signals that we are emitting to our children, because they are the ones who are catching each and everything, So we have to be conscious.
Oh my God, thank you so much, because you just give me a confirmation that, okay, I make mistakes. Obviously, I make mistakes, and it's an ongoing learning process, honestly, to be a parent and to be a different parent than you used to. So it's an ongoing process. I might make my mistakes. I recognize patterns. I recognize sometimes when I say sentences or words, what I used to hear as a kid, I'm saying to my daughter as well. But when you recognize the pattern, you can change it, you can shift it, you can do that. And I remember my daughter Maya, she likes very much blue. She's a girl. She likes blue dresses, blue, everything blue. And then, of course, my family were, why blue? Blue is boyish color, give her pink. I was like, no. If she likes blue, then she's going to wear blue. If she doesn't want to wear pink, I'm not going to force her to wear pink just because she's a girl. Oh, and then, of course, if you try to be a mindful parent, if you try to be a little bit different, then you will face difficulties, of course, from the older generation who try to teach you how to raise your kid, okay, and, to be a good person in society and stuff like that. And then I've got things like, you spoil her too much. You allow her to do this and that. Oh, she's in the mud. I was like, okay, I have a washing machine. Yeah, but she's going to get dirty. Yeah, well, I still have a washing machine. So, this kind of stuff. I mean, it's tiny little things, but, as a young parent, on the thing, you have to be really firm and you have to stay in your own power, actually, when you would love to raise your kid. And as a teacher as well, I presume you have to stay in your own power and in your own truth when you want to raise your children, your kid, the way how you want. Because the conditioning, the habits of older generations are really, really strong. And even when you are an adult and you have your own kid, your parents, your grandparents, as I said, they know always better. So they will always try to tell you that their way is the best. You don't know what you are doing. You never had a child before. This is your first. How you know? I don't know. I'm gonna learn. Let me learn. I'm gonna
I'm going to explore. I'm going to explore, and during exploration, I'm going to evolve and I'm going to grow as a parent.
It's easy. It's not easy. It's fun. Sometimes it's a fight between generations. Let's face it, because it is.
Happens. It's very common. Very common.
Because it is, and then you have to really, as a parent, as a nonconformist, as a new type of parent, as a new type of teacher, you know, it's really hard work, because you not only want to raise a child differently than we have been raised and educated, but at the same time you have to face, the pressure coming from the older generation as well. Do it our way.
Yes.
So you are like kind of wall between the old and the new.
Yes.
And being a wall, yeah, hit from here, yeah, hit from here. So you as a parent, as you said, you have to know, you said in the beginning, and I love that you have to know your why you want to do it. Because I strongly believe that when you change something in yourself, you shift something in yourself, shifts in your kid. If you do something differently than the older generation, that it's not just your kid, it's your grandchildren. And so it goes from generation onward then.
Yes.
So you not only raise your own child, you are raising the next generations, not one, multiple. So
Absolutely. Totally
that's
agreed.
what yes, you said, I'm going back again. I've just made some notes that the current education system is overly conservative. And we agree that this can be changed in the kindergarten, in the classroom, in only one classroom, one teacher. But I'm asking you, and maybe I'm wrong. Yes, let's suppose you are a teacher who have the best intention, right? And you try to educate the kids differently, looking on their own abilities, on their own things. There is still something, what, but correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if it's India or just in the UK, there is a national curriculum, which, you know, is for everyone. And let's say you as a teacher, you know that your children, the children in your class, in your classroom, they are good in this and they are good in that. But still, they do not met maybe the criteria of the system. What are we going to do then? Because let's
Christina, we
say,
have to.
I'm
Yes.
sorry,
Yes.
because let's say you focus on that kid and you give more attention to what the child likes. Maybe you give more attention to math and you might ignore because he doesn't like the other science. I don't know. He doesn't like something else. But yet, when it comes to here to sets or to GCSE, they do not perform good in everything what they should. What happens then? Because they are
So,
good in one thing, but they are not good in the other thing according to the curriculum.
first of all, I would like to say that they don't need to be good at each and everything. That is the
Perfectly.
first thing
Thank
that
you.
I believe. And next is when it comes to a curriculum, we have to understand that a curriculum is there to give us an overview of
Okay.
what we are supposed to do. It is not there to dictate us, the empowered teachers, as to where to start and where to end. It's just an overview.
Mm,
So, say for instance, if the curriculum is from A to Z, the curriculum is from A to Z. So I know that I have to teach A to Z to the child,
mhm.
right? But the curriculum is not telling me which is the best way to teach A to Z.
Okay. Thank you.
Whether I'm teaching A with A for apple or I'm teaching A with something else. So,
Okay.
experiential kind of a learning, that is what I'm suggesting. So what I'm doing, like the pedagogy, like the methodology, so the methodology is completely your own. And even a little while back we had actually referred to the word stress. which is so very common in, today's youth and children. Today's youth still understood, Christina, but stress is a common thing in our children. That is unthinkable because children and stress, these two are dichotomous. We cannot even imagine that, children who are so jovial and who are so playful and agile, they can also be stressed, So we have to understand what is producing the stress in our children. Two things, primarily. One, it's never the curriculum. It's never the content. It's never the content which produces stress in a child. It's always the methodology in which the content is delivered is actually producing a stress. So that is the first thing that we need to understand. And the second thing is, why would, even the word or the concept of stress come in the childhood, which is supposed to be, the child is supposed to be the way he or she is. And as parents or as teachers, we are supposed to look after only one basic characteristic or quality. That is, how can a child develop into the most authentic version of himself or herself? So are we not actually disturbing this entire system by trying to impose a lot of rules and norms, by trying to tell the children that this is how you should do this? This is the only way in which you should do this. Now, listen, there is only one correct answer for all the problems in the world. Okay. So this is our system. This is our current education system, which never encourages the children when they come with interesting questions. But it gives a lot of accolades to the child when the child gives one correct answer for the problems. Problem is here. So we have to actually deal with these issues. We shouldn't be subjecting our children to the stressful education system which is in vogue, which expects so much out of a child, and which doesn't even, one more thing, Christine, I would just like to mention is that there is one serious flaw in our current education system, which has been since long. Our education system teaches you everything which is external to you. It teaches you physics, it teaches you chemistry, it teaches you geography, it teaches you history, it teaches you literature, everything that is external to you. But our current education system does not teach what is intrinsic to you, what is internal to you. Your internal world is not known to you. You do not even know yourself. You do not even feel connected to your own being. That was supposed to be the role of true and real education, to make you feel connected with your inner being. So we feel connected with the external happenings. We know where, where there is flood or where there is riot. We know everything, whatever is happening in the external world. We hardly know what is happening within me.
Sure.
That is the problem, because we are never taught to look deeper into ourselves. We have never been taught to introspect or to self-reflect. We have always been taught to judge, to label, to classify, to categorize, but never to look into ourselves.
True.
So this requires a shift.
I love what you're saying, because it is so true. Yes, this is what we learn, to judge, to label, and this is how we grow into adults who are looking for validation for others, who are looking for approval from others. So looking all external. And then you reach the age of 35, 40, when you start to think, okay, everything, it's not external, but internal. So I completely agree with you that internal, that everything's come from within, and knowing from within should, and this is a very hard should from my side this time. I don't really like to use this word, but this time it should start from a very, very, very young age. From a very young age. So thank you very much. Oh my goodness, guys, if you have any questions, you still have any questions, put them in the comments below. Or I'm very much aware of the time. I'm so, so, so grateful. I loved the conversation with you today, Dr. Shauli. Um, Thank you for being honest, for speaking your truth. I really, really, really appreciate. And before we close this live, is there anything specific what you would love to share with our audience? Or I'm not saying advice, I don't really like that, but any message, anything what you would love to share before we close?
Yes, one very, very simple message from my end to maybe all the parents and to all the educators and teachers. So, Christina, this is something which is very common. You know, we keep on asking our children when they're very small, a very cliched kind of a question that what do you want to become when you grow up?
Exactly. Yes.
Do you want to become a doctor? Do you want to become a scientist? Do you
A
want to become
lawyer.
an engineer?
I know.
So we
Oh,
ask these cliched questions, and the cliched uh, answers are also there in our head. We also expect that the child to come up with those cliched answers only, you
true.
know.
True,
So
true.
I'm just trying to suggest that what if we start reframing our questions? And what if we start asking a completely different question to our children? Say, for instance, if we ask them, think about one problem which you would like to solve when you grow up. So
Beautiful.
if we ask these kind of questions to the, to the child will start thinking on completely different angle. The child will start thinking critically and creatively, and also will be looking around him or her to find out what are the problems that requires a solution. So the child will be having a very, very solution oriented, a very critical and creative mindset right from the very beginning. So this is something which is very simple. This is not a rocket science.
Exactly.
So as parents, as educators, we can at least start by making this small shift, and we can see the results in their response and in their way of life and how they're growing up if we continuously, continue asking such kind of questions which allow them to look deeper into things, which allow them not to be superficial, which allow them not to ignore issues and problems around him or her.
True.
This bit we can do as parents and educators to start off with.
Wow, 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 wow. All I can say is wow. Thank you. Oh my God, I really, really love everything what you were saying. And yes, I know that sometimes it can be really hard to be the wall. It can be really hard to be that conscious parent, or that conscious educator, teacher. But I come back to your word and I'm quoting, when you know your why, when you have a passion for it, then you will find a way, to block all the old what's coming to you and, just build up the new. And that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Shauli, for being with me today. It was a great pleasure for me. Thank you very much, guys, for engaging, for watching and sending us a lot of hearts today. Until next time, which is going to be next Tuesday, I'm sending you lots of love and light as always, and I'm seeing you there. Bye, guys.